Welcome back to Intentional Youth Ministry. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about intentional series planning. I would imagine most of you you're delivering messages and content in your weekly youth services or gatherings that you're doing. And so I want to talk to you about how intentional, really I guess a question for you would be, how intentional are you with what you talk about? I think a lot of times we kind of just do a few things I've seen us do, right? I've seen youth guys that we'll just talk about things that are kind of we're passionate about, and that, hey, I just read this latest book from, whoever, fill in the blank, and we'll try to then build a sermon series content around things that maybe God is speaking to us or things that we're learning, which I'm not saying is always bad, but we'll do that sometimes. I think another thing that we'll often do, I've seen churches that will try to tie in with their main environments, like their main weekend services. So, hey, lead pastor's doing a series right now on finances. So, hey, let's do a series on finances and youth. And we'll just throw in a couple of cool poop stories and some, nose-picking stories, and the students will love it. Let me just take a moment and encourage you. I don't know if that's the most intentional, and here's why I say that. We've tried those kind of things over the years, and in my years in youth ministry, I've tried that at times. But here's where I always ran into a little bit of a conflict for me. I could take any content that the main environment is doing. I could do a sermon series on tithing and giving and figure out ways to make it cool and somewhat connected to students, right? I can take a series on just about anything that any other environment would be doing, and I could try to package it in a way that would just be cool for students. But here's why I don't think that's the most intentional, because I started a few years ago. Actually, what sparked this was I was at a conference with Andy Stanley, actually at North Point Church in Atlanta, was hosting this, and it really they were talking about this thing they did years ago, and I think they called theirs the 7 checkpoints. And the whole idea was just being more intentional about what we teach our students. And something sparked in me years ago, and I came back from this conference and I sat down with our team and I said, guys, hey, let's whiteboard this. Like, what are the things that and I broke it down. I said middle school students, and then we broke it down and we did high school students. And I said, what are the things, what are the topics, the main issues right now that in these 3 years of their life or these 4 years of their life that students really need to be hearing right now? Because I wanted to be super intentional about actually addressing the issues and the things that were the most relevant to that student in the season of life that they found themselves in. And so we did, and from that we came up with several. I think we started with like 6 or 8 or something kind of topics that we would hit every year, and it would look something like this. We would say, hey, we're going to talk about dating and purity twice a year, each kind of fall, spring. Hey, purpose, that's important. We're going to talk about that. And identity, like once, fall, spring. Hey, we're going to talk about, family once a year. And we just started figuring out the different topics, peer pressure and the different things that students were dealing with that we really wanted to focus in and just continually and unapologetically kind of talk about with young people. Now, over the years, that changed a little bit, and we actually opened up a couple of series that we would call cultural trends. And we would actually take an opportunity to really dig in and talk about what are the things right now. Like right now, we're in a season where, depression is a big thing, and anxiety, and cutting was a big thing at one point, and of course now with all the gender stuff. So you have to give some space to talk about the things that students are being faced with and the pressures they're facing. And so I would just encourage you with this intentionality in what you talk about when you're planning your series and your curriculums. Maybe some of you guys, you use existing stuff, you buy stuff that's out there, and nothing wrong with that. There's some okay stuff out there. But if you do that, I would just encourage you to be intentional, though, about taking the content that you know is best for your students in the season they find themselves in to help them really reach their full potential in Christ. So just being intentional with the material and the content that we give to our students. So anyhow, I hope that helps you. Hope that encourages you guys. Keep being intentional, and we will see you guys next time.